Hey guys, Toby Morrison here, and on the other end of the computer we've got Erin Enright. Hey Erin.
Hi.
Hey, good to have you. We've already actually just been on a call already, and we ended up we were just testing the computers, but we ended up talking for like 20 minutes already about surfing and life, and it brought back memories just when I was setting this up. You and I were talking about you dreaming of surfing one day. And I don't know how many years ago was it when you joined the program? It was quite a while ago now.
I want to say, I think it was 2014. So maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah. So that's almost 6 years ago now. And I remember when I kind of met you on the phone and we had that first initial conversation, and you were in a pretty bad way. But I just remember vividly one of the things that you kept kind of saying and commenting on, because you used to watch me do surfing online. You were like, one day, that's my dream. I just want to go surfing. And then we were just talking about you surfing some big waves in where was it? San Diego, with your girlfriend the other day.
yeah. And it's funny. I kind of forgot about that, but that was during my illness. That was something that I just like, all I want to do is like get back out there.
Yeah, I remember.
Amazing.
And I remember when you posted, you posted your first win with your dad surfing, wasn't it? It wasn't when you went surfing with your dad, and it was like your first time in the surf in forever how long?
Yeah. I don't know if it was with my dad, but maybe one of my girlfriends, but it was like the best day ever because it was like I had no fear in me. I was just so excited to be able to like live again, and just go after it. So
Yeah, and now, to give people an idea, like people probably looking at you going, "Oh God, this girl looks super healthy," and there's no way she had chronic fatigue syndrome and was sick. But take us back to before we kind of met. Just briefly, what was going on?
yeah, so I got mono towards the end of college, and I kind of hung in there at my last year of college, but it was a really huge struggle to get through college, and I did kind of barely, and because I was just so wiped out, and so I was, kind of doing the bare minimum to get by, dropping classes so that I could just, try and take care of myself, and but when I graduated, I kind of just really my body just kind of shut down, and after that it was I'd say about like 5 years of being pretty much housebound. I had a period where I was completely bedridden for 4 months, and yeah, it was a very, very just scary thing to go through, just going from this healthy college kid to someone that just struggled to get out of bed and struggled just to walk down the street. I remember just the pain of trying to just walk, and like I was so sensitive to light, even like my glands were so swollen. I, wouldn't have the energy to speak sometimes. Like I remember at some of my worst times my mom put a little bell. It actually said ring for a drink. She was like one of her little like things, but she put a bell by my bed. And, cause I said, Mom, I don't know, like I'm having trouble, like I'm so exhausted, like breathing is labored. So yeah, it was a pretty, just really challenging, scary time. Just because it's like, I didn't really know what hit me and no one else did either. And so it was trying to figure out what was happening. How can I get out of this? And it was just kind of a dark time. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you struggled with some of the symptoms you just mentioned before? Did you also what were some other symptoms? Was it gut problems, brain fog, concentration, sleep irritability? Was there anything that like really stuck out for you apart from the swollen glands and that extreme exhaustion?
I think, yeah, the extreme exhaustion, a lot of body pain. I would have like numbness in my legs, like tingling in my legs and arms. Probably the brain fog. I remember when I was at some of my lower points, I had to add more curtains to my window because I just was like, the light was like too stimulating for me. Yeah, and a lot of digestion. I had a really hard time digesting a lot of things. yeah, a lot of hard time absorbing nutrients. Yeah, just
Yeah.
a
Something you
lot.
don't want to really go back to that much.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah, there's a lot of challenges, and yeah.
For sure. I remember as well, because what happened was, you booked in an initial call with me, and I remember, I think I was at an airport, and I think I was actually in America at the time, strangely, doing a bit of a tour and a conference. But I remember being on the phone to you, and you were in a really desperate way. You were struggling, and at the time, I think you went to Stanford University, to the Mayo Clinic.
I think I may have been on like the wait list or something. I was just gonna go see a doctor up at Stanford. I think
Yeah.
that was around the time.
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember you saying to me was that, you tried the best of the best. You'd gone everywhere, and it almost made you worse in a way. Like you weren't making any progress. You were feeling worse, and you were kind of getting nowhere.
Yeah, I feel like I was trying to go seek out different doctors, and I had, an original doctor that had helped me to a certain point. And then I was like, I just wasn't getting better. So I was seeking out all these specialists, and traveling to different places to go see them. And some of their treatments, would help a little bit, I thought, but then I'd still kind of just wasn't really improving at all. And so it wasn't really until it was like with Toby and, just some of those pieces like nutrition and meditation and these things that like really helped set this foundation for healing. I think that those were the key pieces. And I think too, with Toby, with your program, it's like you were just this light to help guide through all those symptoms I just listed, that it was like, how do you even, it's like, what's even happening when you have all this? You're just trying to exist. It's
It's
really
hard. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to do anything that will be helpful for you when you're just kind of just going, shit, what the hell's wrong with me? What do I do?
Yeah. And so I think you kind of just set up, just this program that could help me like figure out so many things that I wasn't going to be able to figure out on my own. It's like if I had energy, I was going to use it all, because I'm like, I finally, it's like, I just didn't know how to navigate. And I think too, just with like, just the mind piece of all of this, it's like that living with a chronic illness, it's like, it is. I was talking to a friend recently, and she was saying she wasn't having, the best time with her health recently. And like, gosh, she said, it's just the mind. It kind of like, you can just get so lost in it. And it's like, yeah, it's like you can try and be positive all the time, but it's like, it is just such this tricky little thing sometimes. And so I feel like, yeah, having that guidance and finding different things that, like the nutrition piece, and figuring out really that piece for myself, and figuring out the meditation, and and then having you be able to like kind of guide me through my routine, and
Yeah.
and that, I think that was really the foundation, because it's like without all those pieces, it's like you're not really going to be able to heal.
And I feel like that's where you were at when you came to me. I just remember you like everything, all the work that you were doing was outside of you, and it's funny because like it's pretty common that most people come to me after they try everything and they go, nothing's working, like I've got to do something for myself. And it's almost like something switched for you in around that 6-month period after you joined the program. It was like, I'm taking control of this. Like it's the stuff that I do day to day that's gonna make the biggest difference. I remember you and I did an interview maybe 2 years ago, and when you made huge progress, and you went overseas and you're surfing and doing all these amazing things already. You're working again, but one of the things I remember you saying to me was like, once you finally like got in control of your day to day routine, your baseline, and you basically just it shifted from seeking outside of yourself from some of the best doctors in the world, to and there's nothing wrong with that, and that can be helpful. But it was like you realized that it was a piece, but it wasn't what you fully needed. It wasn't everything. And when I feel like the biggest shift that I noticed in you was when it was like here and then bang, straight back in. It was like, all right, I'm doing this and I'm working on my sleep, I'm working on my baseline, I'm working on my nutrition, I'm working on my mindset, I'm working on progressing my daily life. And it almost just like, I don't want to, it sounds almost too easy that it was like just an effortless walk in the park for you, but it wasn't. Like, it was hard work, but it was like simple, way more easier than going on an outward journey, it seemed like for me watching it.
And I think that it was just, being just so young and not having experience with health issues, and then just kind of like, okay, well, what do we do, and not really knowing. But it was just this whole real like life lesson that it's like it all comes back to ourselves, and like us being, it's really all about, I think, trusting ourselves and trusting our intuition and knowing what's right for us. And I think that I kind of got really lost with that, like prior to the turnaround in my recovery, because I think my whole life I was always like, oh, well, what does this person think, or what is, what do these people expect of me, or what does this expert think? And it's like, you're the expert in your life, like you have the power to create the life you want to create. And I think that was like you said, really coming back to myself. And I think one of the things, like a light bulb moment for me too, was when I'm started being in contact with you, you kept saying, just focus on what you love, just do those things. And I was like, wait a minute, like I get to like do all the things I want to do. And I think I was so locked in like this kind of this one-way track with like college, and I had to do these things like, and then I was like, wow. And so it was kind of for me this whole kind of coming back to myself and really following my heart, that I think is a big part of it, trusting myself and just kind of not being so caught up in the external voices, and I think, like we mentioned, seeing all those doctors, a lot of them would say stuff that was really depressing and was very limiting. And so then
because I want to touch on that quickly, because so basically, and just before we go there, it's like, before you kind of got in control of your baseline and you just switched your focus, really, that's what it was. It was like, all right, I'm feeling like crap, I've got these really terrible symptoms, but rather than going, shit, like, how do I fix this? Or is this normal? Is this happening to me? It's like, all right, what can I do to just like calm myself down, calm my nervous system down, or rebuild my conditioning? Or when I'm having not so good days, what can I do in those periods? Like, that desperateness to focus on your symptoms changed to then just focusing on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that was, coming back, I think one of the other things that I took away was, like, you would always say, just focus on what you can do for yourself right now. And that was coming back to like the present moment. And I think that is so key for all of us, like always with life. But I think that, like I said, with the illness and like not even knowing what's happening, and there's so many symptoms, I think that made it really easy for me to go, well, what does my body and my mind and my spirit need right in this moment? And then I'm like, okay, like I need to sleep. Okay, I need to make a green drink. It was like I could just focus on that versus like going way into the future and be like, oh, well, what about like what's going to happen when, and it's like things that are not happening. I think there's so much fear. It's like when you're like, my body isn't functioning and this is how I get through life, you start to just go down this rabbit hole of thoughts. And so it's like, really like, let's just come back here and focus on what we can do. And I think that's the key.
You are so wise.
I learned it from you.
I'm learning from you. It's so good to hear. It's so inspiring and refreshing. Let's go to, I remember vividly now, I remember we jumped on a call. It was about halfway through, after you joined the program, and you were making some good progress and you wanted to go traveling. And so I think you went for a checkup with your doctor, or you kind of had a chat to your GP. And what did that person tell you?
He told me that I couldn't, he said, you're not well enough to travel. And he said I needed to wait at least a year or maybe 2 years before I could travel. Yeah. And I think I was trying to go to, I think if I remember correctly, I don't remember if it was Hawaii or if it was Hawaii maybe. And yeah, and I think, and what did you say to me? I forget what you said.
So you booked in a call with me because you were just like freaking out and going, shit, like, is that true? Like, I literally can't go on a plane for 2 more years. And I basically, and you'd made good steady progress up until this point. And so you were kind of ready to do the next step, which was whatever you wanted to choose to do. And one of the things you want to do is travel. It's a really high value of yours, obviously. And so you got on the phone with me and I said, well, first of all, like, is he you? Like, at the end of the day, like, every single human being has their own choices, and this man or lady, doesn't matter who it is, if they're determining the choices that you're making, they don't even live inside your body. They don't feel how you feel. They haven't noticed and felt the progress that you've made. Is like, how's that even true? Like, it's a very subjectable kind of. I think I just said that. It's a very subjectable comment to make. That is, how is that truth? Like, do you know it for sure? And thank God you didn't listen to that person and that statement, because you ended up going traveling,
Yeah. And I feel like that like launched me into like improving my health more. And because I was in Hawaii, which is a very like healing place that I love, and so it is so true. It's like everyone has to listen to their own intuition on these things and figure out what's best for them. Because I think it's like you always said too, it's like when you're recovering, if it's a hell, yeah, you should do it. If not, maybe not. And I think that's a great thing for life as well. It's like, don't put energy into things that like aren't fulfilling or like, isn't going to be. And so I think with that trip, I knew like, oh my gosh, like I would love to go there. It's going to be healing. I'm going to feel better. But I was so scared because he said the airplane is like too much for you and all these things. And so, yeah, so it's just, and I think to that point, I had a lot of doctors tell me other things, like when I first got diagnosed, they said, just accept you're never going to get better. And I was like, what is that? And so it's like, there's so many opinions out there, but it's like, you just have to remember that it's like, it's your life and you have the power to create whatever you want. And even with the chronic illness, it's not easy, but it's just having that faith and that, and just knowing like you're just going to put everything in to like help yourself heal and you'll get there. I truly believe that.
And to add on to what you just said is like, you didn't go to Hawaii and run a marathon and do stupid stuff. You went and just did what was appropriate for you. And so that's why I was confident in you going as someone who was mentoring you at the time, because it was like, well, you've made all this progress. You're feeling pretty steady. It'll be nice for you to enjoy yourself and have a holiday with, I think it was with your sisters or your friends from memory.
I think it was with my family. Well, I'm kind of wondering now if that was the right trip. I think because I went on 2 trips and but it's funny when you said, well, what were you doing on that trip? It's a funny point to make is on that Hawaii trip, I actually had my normal suitcase and then I brought a separate suitcase because I was like, I have to have my green juices every day. And I was like, I don't think they'll have a juicer where we're staying. So I literally had just one roll carry-on that was just my juicer. And so it was so funny. And then we get to this condo we're staying at and they had a juicer.
Like, Erin, put it away.
But that was like my vacation was, it's like I was making sure, that I was doing all the right
things. Just doing the right things for you. And for anyone listening to this, like, that's what it's about, is just doing what's appropriate for you. Like, it wasn't like you'd just done nothing and then gone, I'm going on an overseas trip, and that would have been probably not the wisest decision to make. But because you had done these stepping stones and you slowly built up, and progressed and managed to progress, it was like, all right, cool, now's the time. But it's just really cool to defy that odd. And we were just talking before we jumped on here, and another doctor said to you something about like, just accept your limits, or something like that.
Yeah. No, that was a counselor that I went to, and they just said, you have to live within your limitations. And she just kept repeating that, and I just thought, wow, like that's not for me. Like, I don't live in a world of limitations. I don't think telling anyone they're limited it's not true and it's not helpful. I just think it's like you can choose to live in that reality if you want, but I choose to live in a reality of unlimited possibilities. I think we're so powerful. And so I think it's just a really interesting experience to go through with a chronic illness. It's like, because it is so physical. And so it's super, super challenging, but at the same time, it's like, it teaches you so much. And, I think that it just shows you, you know, just how powerful we are, how we can heal. I don't know exactly what I want to say on that, but just that, yeah, I mean, it is such a unique experience to go through, because it's like we're living in this body that is really needing like all of our kind of attention. And, but it's like, in a sense too, it's like we're so much more than the physical body. And so I feel like I just learned so much about myself through not being able to use my body for so many years. And yeah, so it was kind of like this switch. And I think it's kind of like you mentioned too, with the you know, focusing so much on the external. And it's like I was very identified too with the external world and my body. And then it's like when I went through that, I was like wow, like I became so much more familiar with my internal world, with my soul, and so much more. And then it's like kind of this shift on how you perceive things. And so I'm really grateful, because I feel like I've learned a lot, just in general. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but just it was a complete shift on how I like show up and view the world.
Complete shift. And you know, like you're a different person to when I met you on the phone 6 years ago now, like totally different person. So much stronger in yourself, you know, wiser, and obviously you've learned a lot. What are like, we've kind of covered them quick, you know, we've covered them without even realizing, but what are 3 kind of turning points for you, like if from the start to the finish? Like, I think number 1 really sounds like it was that shift of going, focusing on outside, like doctors, what, you know, someone help me and fix me, and then turning inwards. Like, was that the first pivot for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was a huge one. And I think that just goes along with just kind of like those pieces of, you know, the doing all those things for myself in my daily life. So it's like figuring out the routine, figuring out my food, so those were, I think, just those building blocks that I kind of built my foundation on. And I think that it was like the main turning point was just going inward and really focusing. And then I think just to you showing me that it's like, oh yeah, just focus on what you love. And then I'm like, oh really? Like travel, like surfing. And I got so just like, oh yeah, I can do all, like yeah, like just switching that shift. And I think another thing that I really struggled with looking back to was just like the fear, you know, of when you go through something like this, it can be really scary, and just to not know kind of like your limits or where you are. And so I think that having your guidance there as well. I said the word limits. I don't want to say that, but knowing like how much you want to push at a certain place.
Yeah, it's current limits. You know, it's current appropriateness of doing, basically.
Yeah.
And that's just true. You know, like life throws curveballs. When you've got stressful periods of time, it's when you've got to do a bit less, or when you know, you just meant, you know, having parasites, you know, when you have bad gut health, and then you've got to fix that. And when you fix that, you know, things get back on track. So it's just about making sure that like you said, you're just doing what's appropriate and then building from there. And that's what you did. You know, there was nothing. The funny thing is like your story is so miraculous, but you actually didn't do anything miraculous to get there. You know?
Yeah.
It's like not putting it down. I'm actually saying like your story, it's so miraculous, your recovery, and it looks miraculous and it sounds miraculous, but what you did to create that miraculous was literally simple changes that actually had the biggest effect on you, you know?
Well, yeah. And I think it was those those pieces of, you know, that were kind of like the foundation. It's like, before this, I didn't know that much about nutrition. You know, I didn't know that much about mindset. I didn't know, like, it was like all these things I needed to learn to create this, you know, this wellness in my life. And I just don't think I was, just kind of going through life doing what everyone else was doing. And then this like stopped me in my tracks. And it's like, wait a minute, like my body's telling me something is not right. And like, then it's like, I got to learn like what was required, on every level, I feel like, of myself, for my body, for my soul, for my mind. Like I got to learn all of that. And so now I feel, it's a gift to like be able to have spent that time on myself and know the things that are really important to me and my overall wellness.
A lot of people, like when they hear the word mindset or nutrition or, a lot of people discard the physical re-strengthening process as well, like reconditioning your body. But like people hear that and they go, "Oh, I already know all that stuff." What would you say? Because I feel like you came in with a really great learner's mindset. You were here to sponge up everything you could. You invested totally in the program. You invested in yourself. What was it? Just for others, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are stuck and they think they've got it right, but they might not, because they're probably not curious enough, and they've almost concluded that they already get it and they know it all. They're already doing that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I actually, when you started talking to me and you reminded me of our first phone call, I remember you started listing all the things you would cover, and you said mindset. In my mind, I remember I was like, oh, I already know all that. Yeah. And I felt like that too. And because I just thought like, oh, I'm not depressed. It's like I was kind of a little bit defensive because you hear so much like it's in your head or whatnot. Yeah. So I just said, oh, I don't have a problem with that. That was immediately like my reaction in my mind. But it's like I mentioned at the beginning, like it's not an easy thing to go through. Like it's like when we live in a physical world and our physical body is at such a low level, it's just a trippy, it's a challenging experience. And so I feel like to have the guidance is just so invaluable. And I think that, like I said, I think I mentioned earlier, it's like just, telling yourself you can be positive or all these different things. It's like, it's very complex. It's not an easy thing. And I think I'm constantly continuing to learn about the mind, and through just like different, my meditation practice and studying like different spiritual teachers. And so I just think it's like I think it's, just being open to learning and taking what resonates. And if things don't resonate, that's okay. But I think it's just being open to possibilities, because I think too, like for so many years, I was at the same level, of health, and I wasn't improving. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to do everything I can. And so it's just, you don't have to do everything that comes your way, but being open to learning, I think, is just the key to life. And then take what resonates and leave what doesn't. I think that being open in life is really key. But then in using your own intuition on what's right for you. But I do think it's being open to everything, because it's like clearly we can all learn a lot from each other. So I think yeah,
for sure. And that's why we've got the group mentorship program, because everyone learns from everyone, no matter where you're at. The insights, the learnings from the mindset shifts and the physical changes and the awareness and insights that, oh, okay, cool. How can I apply that into my life?
Yeah.
Just want to touch quickly on, you've mentioned the word challenging a few times, which is really good, because I feel like people do kind of look at people who have, made progress and basically gotten their life back. They almost think it's impossible. But people they didn't see you when you were bedbound and completely out of it. What's something that helped you, and I think you kind of mentioned before, but what's something that helped you get through those challenging times where, you had days where you couldn't get out of bed, or you just, you felt like giving up, and, were there days like that? Did you feel shit?
Yeah, no, I had definitely, I feel like there were so many periods where it just felt really dark, and I just was like, I don't know if I'm going to get out of this. And so that's kind of the reality of it. It's not, it's like, I just say it's super challenging. But I think it's like having faith in yourself, and just knowing that it's possible. I think that that's why, meeting you and hearing your story, I was like, wait a minute, like he did it. Like I was so encouraged because, and it was even hard. It was really hard for me to even think like, wait, you were sick, you were sick. It's hard to think that when you see someone healthy, but it's, yeah, so I think that just knowing within that you can get through anything. My grandfather, he was a philosophy major in college, and he's 94 now. And we love to talk about life and philosophy together. But recently in one of our conversations, he just said, Erin, he said, remember that you are stronger than anything that comes your way in this life. And it's so true. It's like some days it's like you just get through it. You don't know how, like you just get through it and do what you have to do. If it's watching Netflix or listening to quiet music or closing all your windows and just, breathing slowly, whatever it is, you just get through it, and tomorrow I'll try again. You just have to take it in such small increments, and I think that's what it really came down to, is like you said, focus on what you can do now. So really listen to, what does my body need in this moment? And if it's, going for a little walk, if it's taking a nap, if it's making a green drink, you just break it. I had to break down life really small, and that's what really, I think, got me there.
What are you grateful for now? Like at the moment, like tell me what you're grateful for.
I think I'm really grateful. I feel so grateful for all the people that in life that I get to meet, and my friends and my family. And I think that was one of the things, is I felt very, very isolated, because I just felt like my tolerance for a lot of things felt very overwhelming. So now I just feel really, really grateful for people, and to be able to connect. I feel grateful. I love nature so much too. So I'm just always just over the moon to be by the ocean or out in nature. And yeah, my health. I mean, talking about this, it's pretty remarkable, because yeah, there were just so many. I mean, the fact that I had doctors that said, just accept you're not going to get better. I'm just so grateful. And yeah, I think sometimes I still like pinch myself and be like, wow, like look how far you've come. And I was telling Toby, I was like, yeah, I've been living on my own for 2 years now. And for so many years, I was at home with my parents for about like 5 or 6 years. And I just didn't really know if I would ever be able to be strong enough to live on my own. So I think that's a really big gift. Yeah, I just have a lot. I'm just really grateful for everything.
That's good. And just like to paint the picture, what you're up to. What are you up to these days? You've got your own. You're in your own house. You got your own dog.
Yeah. So I moved out about like 2 years ago, and I live in this little like beach community that I absolutely love. I'm right by the ocean, so I've been surfing and doing a lot of yoga, and I have my dog, and I am working. I work at a marketing company that does marketing and healthcare, and I've been enjoying that and traveling, and yeah, just really grateful for all of it.
You've done a few trips to Costa Rica as well, I saw on your Instagram.
Yeah, I've been to Costa Rica 4 times now.
Your second home.
Yes, I absolutely love it down there. It feels like home down there. So I've done a lot of yoga and like surf retreats down there, and yeah, it's yeah, I love it.
Amazing, pretty cool to go from you've lived it, so you get it, and you probably what happens once you kind of get better. You don't really tend to remember how bad it was. You kind of can forget about it. But it's really cool for other people watching this going far out. Like, you've gone from pretty bad, and you and I know that. We've been through it ourselves, but I remember you and I know that experience because we spoke about it. But to now where you're at is just phenomenal. Like it's just such a phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
inspiration for everyone watching. I'm sure people have got goosebumps watching right now. What would you say to these people who are watching? You know, if you just give us a little bit of Erin's wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've touched on some of it already, but I think it's like just know that it's possible, and don't ever let anyone tell you it's not. I really think it is so much about coming back to ourselves and trusting ourselves and listening to ourselves. And I feel like for me, at least too, this illness showed me where I wasn't in alignment with myself on like every level. So it was kind of re-navigating and figuring out what I needed and what I wanted to create. And I think just knowing that that's possible for everyone, to create the life that they want. And I know that it's like, it can seem far out, but it is, it's very possible for everyone. And I think too, I think I mentioned too, just how the present moment thing was just so key for me, is to really break it down in the small steps. And I think another huge piece as well was like finding the right people. Because I think, coming out of college, it's like I had a lot of friends that were great, but I made a lot of like deeper connections when I was sick and when I was recovering. And I think that having those like kind of like more soulful, deeper connections with people really helped me heal. I remember too, I had two really good friends, one when I was really sick and then one as I was getting better. And I felt like they really were there for me and never once tried to, I always said to them, like, you never tried to change me. And that was such a big thing for me. And it was because I just felt completely accepted for wherever I was. And I felt like I was at such this, low place. And I think that is so healing to be surrounded by people. And so, just if you have people that aren't helpful in your life, like it's okay to let those people shuffle out, because the ones you're going to attract the right ones in. And I know it can be not a pleasant shift sometimes, but I think that was a huge thing for me, was knowing that, okay, just come back to myself, and the right people do come in, and it's, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because you got into resistance in terms of there was a struggle there was challenge, there was constantly that questioning and hardness, but everything worked out for you when you kind of stopped resisting and just focused on yourself and what was right for you, and it shifted. And so the tools and the application of the program is almost so simple, but so hard and challenging to embed into yourself, until you let go of that resistance and the challenge, and you just fully just twist it inwards and go, okay, well, I'm gonna focus.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think that that's still like applicable to everyone, like in their lives. It's like we can get really distracted and caught up in different things in our lives, and it can make us unhappy or whatnot. But that it's like just really coming back to ourselves, constantly coming back to our true selves, and living from that place versus getting too external. I think it's so true.
So good. Thank you so much for doing this. I'd
Thank you so
on
much.
behalf of everyone who's going to watch it and get something out of it. You've just come so far.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much to you for teaching me all these things. And I'm just grateful to be able to just share some hope and inspiration to people, because I know like when you're at, kind of a lower level, it's like, it can seem like overwhelming and it can seem dark, but it's totally possible for everyone. And I think that you just have to keep going, you just keep going every day, and it will get better.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
To me and to everyone else. You're such a good advocate for the program. You're that person who just came in and in a hard spot, your back was against the wall, and you know, you just like I said, you just put the student cap on and just said, all right, well, what can I do? And you did it, and you know, years and years of hard work's paid off, and look where you're at now. You know, you're surfing that beautiful Donald Takayama surfboard, and you know, on those Californian waves.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really grateful.
Thanks, Erin. Speak to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.